Let's shift gears a little bit and let's get over to the Black Holocaust. So as you probably already heard about, Whoopi Goldberg, stirring the pot again, saying that the Jews are not a race, and of course that resulted in like a firestorm of of criticism, and you got folks popping up on TV talking about, oh, this is a lesson. Whoopi needs to go and learn some stuff, right? But the thing that I feel that most people are missing, and the reason why I wanted to share this video with you, is that the thing that people assume that people don't, or maybe folks don't know about, is that whenever people bring up the Holocaust, it's brought up as if it's just a white thing. You know what I'm saying? Like so, black folks, we tend to bring up, the transatlantic slave trade, and then sometimes we have a Jewish person say, well, we had the Holocaust. So either or, right? Well, for black folks that are Israel, that are under the Deuteronomy 28 curses, we know that wherever we went, it didn't matter what continent we were on, what year on the calendar it was. Those curses was according to scripture, they were going to hunt us down and then kick into gear. And yes, there were black folks in Germany. Yes, there were black Israelites in Germany. And yes, the curses kicked on over there as well, which meant that when the Holocaust kicked in, guess who was caught up in it too? But not a lot of folks talk about it. Not a lot of people know about it. But yes, the Holocaust included us too. So whenever you hear people, try to compare things like, hey, well, we were in it too with the Holocaust. Well, for so-called black people, it's not either or, it's and. You know what I mean? It's the transatlantic slave trade and the Holocaust and the Saharan slave trade and the Inquisition and all the persecutions that happened over in Europe, like all over, fam, all over. So with that being said, let's take a look at Germany's Black Holocaust. All right. So to put this into perspective, I kind of want us to understand that when it came to Hitler, like Hitler was the quintessential white supremacist. And if you throw a black person in the mix, guess what? Hitler really didn't like black folks. Like if Hitler didn't like the Jews, he really didn't like Negroes in Germany. And for that, to prove that point, let's read this quote. It says, on July 20th, 1939, months before the start of World War II, Fischer indicated something about Nazi racial attitudes when he stated, I do not categorize every Jew as inferior, as I do Negroes. And I do not underestimate the greatest enemy with whom we have to fight. Come on, fam. Hitler did not like black folks, right? He did not. We were at the bottom of the food chain when it came to Hitler's. Yeah, fam. If you see any trolls in the chat, feel free to put the kibosh on that. I know Ema, sister Saul is really good at that. So, all right, let's keep going. Yeah, don't want this to be a long lesson. So let's keep it moving, fam. All right, but let's keep going. Remember what we're saying. The point that we're trying to drive home is that Hitler did not like Negroes. He did not like black folks. He was all about this purist, the white supremacy, and Negroes were a wrench in his plans. And so for that, let's read our next reference. And it says, though there were relatively few blacks in Germany, and that is actually a questionable statement because, according to history, according to archaeology, according to science, DNA, we do know that at some point Germany had a sizable black population. Over time, the white population replaced them. But that's a video and a lesson for a different day. Like that's an established fact that not a lot of folks know about. But for now, let's just keep it moving. Let me start over. It says, though there were relatively few blacks in Germany. Though there were relatively few blacks in Germany, Hitler discriminated between black and white prisoners of war. So now we're going to talk about World War II. So you have, you have the Holocaust, of course. You have, World War II, and then what we're also going to talk about is the period of time, like just before both of those things, right? Black folks were getting persecuted. It's like, we couldn't win for losing, right? But it says Hitler discriminated between black and white prisoners of war. So if you think about like the Red Tails, the Tuskegee, not the Tuskegee Air, yeah, the Tuskegee Airmen, right? Like if they got shot down over Germany, let's read about what happened to them. It says black soldiers were captured during World War II, were separated from their units, and shot. Family, they weren't playing around with black folks in Germany. I'm telling you. So-called black folks had it worse. They had it worse. It's because of those curses, fam. Let's keep going. It says he reported that in the vicinity of Stargard, Germany, there was a Negro prisoner of war camp where medical experiments had been performed on these POWs. Wow. So hopefully that should sound familiar, family. Let me move my icon out the way. Let's keep going. It says Fischer performed such tests on gypsies and scheduled similar tests for Jewish inmates at, I'm not even pronouncing that word. Grawitz also reported that a Dr. Hornick, another SS or Secret Service physician, had performed tests. Can't read that. I have an icon over my screen here on Negro prisoners of war in France. Also, ran similar tests and experiments seemingly involved studying blacks to learn how whites could better adapt to the tropical environments. So basically, fam, just know that they were running experiments on black folks in Germany, right? So a lot, that's like I said, whenever people bring up, hey, they were running experiments on us in Germany, black folks aren't included in that. But yes, black people were included in that. Okay. Let's keep reading. Let's keep going, fam. So this is an article from the BBC. And it says being black in Germany. And I believe this is focusing mainly on the mixed children, because you had a couple of different groups. You had the unmixed Negroes in Germany, but then you had the mixed children where you had, when the Africans or Negroes ended up mixing with the white German population, then we had these mixed communities, and Hitler had a special name for these mixed communities. Hitler referred to them as the Rhineland bastards. And let's see, I believe I have a slide on this, but what you need to understand is that even with the children of these mixed couples, these mixed races, Hitler, they enacted a plan to exterminate them, and he had two approaches. Either sterilize them or euthanize them. Children, family, and in either case, if they chose to sterilize them, they would take the children. The SS would show up at the the residents of the home. They would take the children and they would take them off and they would sterilize them without any anesthesia. Right. This would be open operations. So just to give you an idea. So let's keep going. And it says in the Nazi era from 1933 to 1945, African Germans numbered in their thousands. There was no uniform experience, but over time they were banned from having relationships with white people, excluded from education and different types of employment. And some were sterilized while others were taken to concentration camps. And that's where they disappeared. These are just some of the pictures, right? Just some of the mixed children, right? And as you can see, this is what Hitler would refer to those children as. It says, were the Rhineland bastards were the offspring of German mothers and French colonial African troops, because the African troops were there at some point as well. But there was also a black an established black population in Germany as well. But this one says troops who had occupied the Rhineland after World War I were also persecuted by the Nazis, right? By the Nazis. But let's keep going. So just know, fam, like I said, the big takeaway here is that the Holocaust is not a white only event, right? We being Israel, we were there too. We were getting persecuted too, all right? So I'm going to drop down to the second highlighted line where it says, he says, evidence shows their policy towards other racial aliens hinted towards a goal of racial annihilation. Hitler did not like black folks, fam. And it says, in 1935, the Nuremberg laws, which among other things outlawed marriages between Jews and other Germans, were passed. These were then amended to include black people and Roma in the same category as Jews. But a fear of racial mixing persisted in 1937. The mixed race children from the Rhineland were targeted for forced sterilization. Right. All right. And this is just another slide. Let me advance past this one. So this comes from the Daily Mail. And like I said, there was persecutions during different times, right, on our timeline. So there's persecutions during the Holocaust, persecutions. We got, World War II, POWs being shot down and taken for POWs. And while the white POWs were taken to the POW camps, the black POWs were taken around back and shot. All right. But now we're going to talk about the time before the Holocaust. And let's learn about what happened before the Holocaust in Germany. So it says Hitler's Holocaust blueprint. A new book reveals how the Khazars, Germany, used concentration camps in Africa to advance their theories of racial supremacy. So yes, the concentration camps were first in Africa. First in Africa. Africa first. But let's keep going. All right, so that's a shot. So remember, when you look at the pictures of the concentration camps, you see the emaciated, starving people that had, experiments performed on them. This is where that was, where people say the blueprint was refined, and that's in Africa. It's in Africa. Let's keep reading. And it says, African concentration camps. What happened to others of those who survived or escaped brutal murders? The survivor says Sims, were imprisoned in concentration camps or used as guinea pigs for medical experiments. So there you go, fam. In Africa, used for medical experiments. It says, a foretaste of things to come. Dropping down, it says, remarkably, decades before the Jews suffered as human guinea pigs in German concentration camps in Europe, Black Africans had suffered the same fate at the diabolical hands of men like Fisher, who had no qualms of conscience in denying his alleged loyalty to the Hippocratic Oath. It says the files of the Imperial Colonial Office reveal that the official policy of the German government was to deport and destroy Nama until the mid-1906. And we have the African tribes. Bathani, which is the second African tribe there, says people were held in concentration camps at Windhoek and Caribib. Yes, before there were horrifying pictures forever etched into our minds of Jews who were reduced to skin and bones, there were extremely disturbing, next slide, pictures of Black Africans whose diseased skin barely covered fragile rib cages and encased a frail overall skeletal structure. So family, this was in Africa first. This was against Africans first. So when, like I said, when folks try to make this thing to be an exclusive white Ashkenazi Jew experience, it is not, fam. It's not. All right. And let's see here. Let's read this one. It says, let me skip this one. It said, what was Germany's Black population? It says, apparently, no one knows for sure how many Blacks were in Germany during World War II. Let me read that again. Apparently, no one knows for sure how many blacks were in Germany during World War II. Nevertheless, fairly educated guesses abound. So whenever you hear numbers and estimates about blacks in Germany, it is always an estimate, fam. It's always an estimate. It could be high or it could be lower than the actual estimate. But let's keep reading. It says, unfortunately, a black man in Germany was like a black man in the United States. Let's say that again, fam. A black man in Germany was like a black man in the United States. Man. Of which famed author Ralph Ellison wrote a book appropriately titled The Invisible Man. There you go, fam. Like I said, the curses of Deuteronomy 28, they followed us wherever we went. All right, let's read this one. Let's see. Actually, we might skip this one as well because it says, and of course, there are in a few cases actual court records that verify the existence of black victims of the Holocaust. Right. So we do have court records in that regard. And it says the Germans committed the first genocide of the 20th century in German Southwest Africa between 1904 and 1907. And it says the genocide in German Southwest Africa is significant as a prelude to the Holocaust. It cannot be denied that there are actual structural similarities. The common factor is the readiness to exterminate certain groups of human beings. And it reads, a genocide through the term had not, or it says a genocide, though the term had not yet been invented, was committed. Listen, fam, it says 80% of the hero people and 50% of the Nama people perished or were murdered. So 80. So when Germany came into Africa, 80%, fam, of these people were wiped out, and you have 50% in this other tribe. This was in Africa first, fam. I just want to stress that this was in Africa first. So with that being said, fam, said like the points taken here is that, remember, there were different periods of time over in Germany. And so we have of course, we have the Holocaust. We have, of course, the POWs of World War II. And we also have the time, just before any of that started over in Africa. We have concentration camps. We have medical, experimentation on the populace, and we have genocide, all by, the same Germans that then took that model and then implemented it in Germany. And yes, we were over in Germany when that was implemented as well. So the Holocaust is not just a white experience. Black folks were there too. All right, fam. Well, that's actually all I have for you tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Love you, fam. Stay tuned. Like I said, still putting in that in the work for the next video coming out. Really hope to get into a lot of the history of some of these organizations that are coming against our community. And I think, like I said, I think you'll be shocked as far as who they really are and where they come from. And their history is undeniable. They just don't talk about it. All right, fam.